This is a huge class. This is awesome. So is this the Entrepreneur Lecture Series, I guess, is what they call it? That's awesome. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and about our business and how we started. And just being here kind of gives me chills because it reminds me when I was sitting literally right there in one of these classes, just like you guys are. And I hope that comes through today because I remember sitting in these classes and hearing people share about their businesses and thinking, there's no way I can do something like that. Like, that's crazy. That's so awesome. But how do you do that? How do you even get started and grow to that point where you are? And so I really hope I can communicate that because I remember that being really important to me as an entrepreneur, as a student wanting to be an entrepreneur, that to know that it was like possible to do that. So hopefully that'll come across. But I'm co-founder of DoMyOwn.com. It used to be Do My Own Pest Control when we started, and we kept growing and then expanded out of that into other things. So go here. So here's our company right now, and that's in front of our building. I think we took this 2 years ago. My brother over here, Michael, is the other founder of the company. So being an e-commerce company, if any of you guys, I'm sure you buy from online companies every day. You know, we have the typical departments that most online businesses have. We have a marketing group, and we have a, sales team and a warehouse and all of that. So a little bit more about us. So we've been in business 15 years. So I was at BYU in the Information Systems program back in 2004, and that's when we started. And which was awesome because when you start a business in school, you guys have so many options and so many things to take advantage of here, like mentors and these classes and everything else. So that was a huge help to us. Like I said, we have over 75 employees now. We sell over 16,000 products, and this is going to be really interesting to see when I show you guys some pictures of where we started, because it was like 10 products, like 5, fit on a little shelf. But little by little, we grew over time. We sell to pest control companies, we sell to homeowners, we sell to businesses, restaurants, anyone who wants to do it themselves instead of hiring a company. We've also been ranked as one of the top 500 U.S. retailers, so Amazon being number 1, and you just go down, Walmart, all of them. We made it on that list, which is pretty cool. And we've won a lot of customer service awards, which I'll talk about later too, and that's been something that we really care deeply about, is customer service. And then the last thing I'll mention that's new, just how we're evolving, is we've started 2 new subscription programs. So now if you, as you guys get your own place or your parents or whatever, we now offer a subscription box where you can enter your zip code, the type of lawn you have, and we will send you a scheduled box every couple of months with fertilizer and weed feed exactly for your lawn type. And it's really cool. It took us a lot of years to build. It's pretty complex, but a lot of fun. So we did that. We did another one for pest control. It's called Pest Box. So if you don't want to hire a company and save a ton of money, you can sign up for this box and get it delivered on a schedule, let's say every 2 months, just like a company would, with a product right size, and you can spray your own house. So that's another product we came out with. So just a little bit about me. This picture, here's something funny. So this is my family. So my wife, we have 4 kids. Our youngest is Charlotte. She's our daughter. 3 boys. That's always fun. We were actually out here last week. So does anyone know where this picture was taken? Yeah, you said the Narrows, right? Oh, it's such an awesome hike. So my wife's family lives out here, and so whenever we get a break and the kids are out of school, this is where we come. We come out to Utah and visit them, and it was my first time at Zion National Park. Literally, this picture was taken like 4 days ago. Then I had to fly home to, for church and get all that done, and then I flew back out here for this. So it was a little crazy, but I love that hike. I've always loved entrepreneurship. I'm also a founder at the BYU Center for Entrepreneurship as well, which has been really neat to be a part of, to give back, and happily married with 4 kids. So, okay, so I want to tell you about another hike I did last week. How many know this hike? Everybody. You guys have all done this one? Who's done this hike? That's awesome. Yeah, this is crazy. How many of you were freaked out on this hike? No, you can admit it. I'm not scared of heights, and there was like this one part, you know what I'm talking about, where it's really narrow here and the chain stops and then it begins again. This is Angel's Landing, all right, at Zion National Park. And the reason I wanted to put it in here is not to say I did Angel's Landing. It looks like a lot of people have done that. And I know, at least for me hiking it, it definitely lived up to its name. But one thing I noticed on this hike, and I don't know if you guys have noticed it too, is as you're walking down the trail, you're seeing this huge cliff, right? Like going up here, and it's how many feet down? Do you guys know? A lot, right? 1,500 feet, right? It's crazy. Well, it starts to get to you because you're looking at this huge cliff up ahead of you, and it almost seems impossible. But guess what? As me and here's my brother-in-law here. As we're walking up this, there's people coming down, and they kind of have to go around you because they don't want to fall off, and it's 1,500 feet on both sides. But the people coming towards you, getting off the mountain, it's like they're not as freaked out. I mean, they're just coming down, and they're going around you. Some aren't even holding on. I'm like, how are you doing that? This is so far down. This is freaking me out. And the reason I wanted to share this is because I think it has an analogy with entrepreneurship. When you guys are starting out, because I remember this, like when you look at a cliff, how many of you guys have a business idea that you want to start thinking about? A couple of you, right? Maybe it's not. Is it hard for you to like jump in and start, or like where do you start, right? That was big for me. What's the idea and where do I start? And looking at this almost seems like this cliff to me. I'm like, how do you do that? But the people coming back, just after having at least put themselves in there and taken the leap, like it just seems so much easier, but they're walking the same path that you guys are walking. We've all been there. And I love that part about this, but I realized coming back, there's another thing that made it easier. As I was coming back down this pathway, I found, okay, I'm going down, and I'm like, oh, wait, this is easier, like the other people coming back. You know why? Because I realized you're not looking at that big cliff in front of you. You're not. You're going back down Angel's Landing, looking into the ground, heading down. It's amazing how that psychology works. But it was so much easier coming back. So how does all this relate? Again, when you're looking at this big impossible thing, it can be overwhelming. But focus on the first step, and then the next step, and the next step, and all of a sudden you can build something really great. And so I hope that comes across. Okay, so again, when you start a business, don't just be like this guy and be like, all right, let's go. And he just jumps in the pool, right? Has his suit on and everything. And this is definitely not how you want to start. I would suggest you don't, and probably you've been taught not to do it this way. You want to jump in at some point, but don't just jump in with no thought. When my brother and I started our business in college, it was a little more like this. Okay? We didn't have a business plan, believe it or not. And I think things are trending more towards that. Do you guys write business plans? Kind of? Somewhat? So I think now they even do like business sheets, where it's just like all your strategy and ideas are on one piece of paper. And that's not quite what we did, but we didn't have a business plan. Here's how this idea came up. I'll talk about it. We'll talk about doing the research in a little bit. I'm going to go back to that. But here's how we started. So we came up with the idea in 2003. So I'm at BYU studying entrepreneurship, and my brother is at the University of Georgia in Atlanta, and we're both working our way through school. And he's working at a pest control company, and he finds out that this company is selling products over the internet. And this is way back. They started in 1997. And he calls me up and he says, hey, I heard about this idea. These guys are selling these products online. And what do you think about this idea? Check out the site. Let me know, and I'll talk to my boss. Okay? He was going to tell his boss about this idea to see if he'd sell these products. I said, okay. So, we looked at the site, and it was absolutely terrible. It was just a couple of pages, a really small picture, a little link that said buy, a little bit of text. That was it. And so we started looking into it more, and we're like, man, this guy's making a lot of money. And the site is stupid. It's just easy. How do you run a business with a site like this? And we're in college, and so we're looking at sites like Amazon was getting big then, like Google. We're just looking at these other sites, and we're like, we could do better than this. And so I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but when we got off that phone call, like I could not sleep that night. How many of you have had an idea like that where you just like can't sleep, you keep thinking about it? Yeah, I've been there because that's what happened. The next morning I called my brother before school and I'm like, I couldn't sleep last night. I have all these ideas. Like, look what I wrote down. We need to do this, 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 and this. He's like, oh yeah, I need to do this. I'm going to find out this. And so it just happened. We were just so excited about it. So again, we still remember the night we both couldn't sleep. If that happens to you, you might be an entrepreneur. So the idea already existed, but we knew we could make it better. So again, we didn't start this from scratch. We didn't come up with the idea. And I think that's important to know too, that whatever you come up with, it doesn't have to be 100% original. It just has to be something new you're bringing to market, maybe a new way to tackle it, something more exciting or different than what you're seeing out there that meets a need. So what we want to do was, with all of our research, is we wanted to create the absolute best experience we could for buying pest control over the internet. And we thought we could improve it quite a bit from what we were seeing. So we spent 7 months building the site, and we learned everything we could about e-commerce. So that's the other thing, the lesson, the take home, I hope you guys would know, is when you see like that kind of GIF image of you rolling out the battle plan that I showed you. That's from, I think, Home Alone, that old movie back then. But I think that's important because entrepreneurship is a lot about learning, right? And if you guys don't like to learn, it's going to be hard being an entrepreneur. I'm just going to tell you now, because don't ever let the fact that you don't know something or that you're afraid of starting stop you. Please don't let that stop you, because you absolutely can do it and you can figure it out. And my brother and I didn't know really anything. So I'm going online, being in an MIS degree, so that's computer science and business. I'm jumping in at night, learning how to build an e-commerce site. I had no idea how to do it. He's trying to figure out, okay, how are these people buying this product? Like, what are the margins? What are they selling? And by the end of 7 months, we had books of printed pages. And this is way back in 2004, okay? But we had printed pages of every product everybody was selling, every margin we figured out that they had, every price they were selling it at. I knew what story we wanted to use. We just really jumped and immersed ourselves into it without ever launching yet. And so that is super key. Okay, another thing I got involved with, so while we're getting all this going and researching the heck out of it, if this is even viable, so in a sense, we're creating a business plan. So I go to BYU, and I'm like, hey, I want to get a mentor. And do you guys do mentors here? I'm assuming you do. Probably, yes. Do it. It's awesome. It'll help you so much. We started from the very beginning with a mentor, jumped in with them, went over what we were researching before we even started, and just got so much help. It was amazing. So I'd highly recommend doing that. And then the other thing is, if there's any competitions that you guys have down here, so BYU had a business plan competition, and my brother and I entered that. Again, still no website, still haven't done anything yet. It's been a few months, but we decided to enter this competition, and I think we won runners up. It was like a couple $100, but for us that was huge. So this is the first website back in 2004. Kind of looks a little like the old Amazon site. If you guys remember, have tabs on it. So that was our first website. We launched in May of 2004, and we bootstrapped the company. So my brother and I were working side jobs. I didn't go out to investors or anything to try to get money for this. We really couldn't back then. We were just so scrappy. There wasn't Shopify. You guys are so lucky if you get into e-commerce. There's all these great tools like, Shopify and Magento, and you can just go out and create everything. And we didn't have any of that. But we did. We worked side jobs and we threw up the site. Okay. So that shows you kind of how young we were when we started there. So acting big when you're small. So let me talk about this, what happened. So we're at our parents' house. This is in my parents' kitchen. We throw up this website. We don't know what's going to happen, right? We've been researching this thing. We think we have the pricing right. So we throw up some ads on Google and Yahoo. That was the big thing to do back then. It was the Wild West. You just throw ads up and you see what happens. And so we throw these ads up, and I'm sitting in my room. My dad's working from home. My mom's downstairs. And we get an order in 30 minutes. and I'm freaking out. So I run out of my room and I'm like, hey, there's an order that came through the site. My brother's like, what? And he runs upstairs and we're like, yeah, we got an order. This is crazy. So now we're trying to figure out, okay, we got an order. Crap, like, what do we do? Like, we got to ship this thing out. Like, we got to deliver it. And so I probably should have done a little bit more prep of, okay, what if this does work? What do you do after that, right? So think about that part. Don't get caught and not have a good customer experience. So we had to figure that out. And another thing that we just kind of figured out as we went along was acting big when we're small. So you'll see in this picture, my brother and I are at the table taking calls. So we had a phone number on the site, and my brother worked at the pest control company. He knew that and all that kind of stuff. And so they would call in, and I would say, thank you for choosing to do my own pest control. This is Philip. How can I help you? And they're like, yeah, I have a question about an order. And like, oh, let me get you over to customer service. And I'd put it on hold and hand it over to my brother. He'd be like, this is the customer service department. How can I help you? And he's like right next to me, right? And so eventually we moved this down to the basement, which I'll show you next. But I actually had a lady I remember who called, and she's like, are you guys running this out of a basement? And we're like, no. Why would you think that? We were running out of a basement. So we got smart too after a while and actually found some answering service now they have them all over. But back then we found a service where it'd say, thank you for choosing to do my own pest control. It was like really fancy. It was right here in the basement on like a phone in the corner. Like it was just, so anyway, we're just trying to make it feel like we were bigger than we were, and we're like two kids out of a basement. So here's how we started. So we did not buy a ton of product and just like go out and buy some warehouse and like fill it with stuff. We really did try to go through this step by step. And it's kind of like hiking that Angel's Landing hike, where if you just focus on the step in front of you, it's this crazy thing and potential possibilities out there, but you really just need to get to the first lamppost in the fog, right? Like, don't get too caught up like of everything. Just get to the next step. And so for us, we're getting orders in now. We're like, okay, let's prepare for this. So we'd go out, we'd get orders, we'd go out and buy product at the distribution centers around us in Atlanta, bring it back to our basement and pack it. So you can see here, like our dad helped a lot with this, but we had a lot of good organization. We tried to keep it clean, but guess what? It took us, I don't know, it took us like 30 minutes. Well, no, more than that. It took us like hours to pack 10 orders. I mean, it was so inefficient, it was terrible. So there's a bundle orders in the corner. We'd have UPS come to our parents' back door and pick up, which is probably illegal. Like, I don't know, that's in like a residential area, and they're like hauling like tons of packages out of this basement. So, but anyway, there's a picture of that. Okay, I want to play this video. Let's see if this will work. Oh, there we go. 3, 2, 1, we are. Okay, so I want to show you this video, and it illustrates a lesson. Okay, so what's the next step? We're getting orders in, got the basement organized, and my dad, he's a sharp guy, and he pulls me over one day, and he's like, hey, the way you guys are doing these orders is so inefficient. Like, you're not going to be able to keep doing it this way. It's taking you all day to ship out 20 things. You got your brother working down there. You got your sister. You got the whole family. This is not going to work. And what we were doing is we'd print out the orders, and we'd go over to a little computer, and we'd like type in the address by hand. Can you see like why this might be an issue? So I was like, you're right. There's got to be a way to do this better. And I want to show you this, why this is important. I love this. This is like a commercial from like, who knows how long. For business.
Facing a virtual reality? UPS can help you plan for it, manage it, and deal.
So you get that? So they throw up a website, and it's like one order, and they're like, yeah, we got an order. It's like 300,000 orders. What are we going to do? So lesson about scaling. So this is something that's been a huge part of our business, and I want to share with you guys, is that early on, thanks to my dad and some mentors that I had in my life, they said, you got to build something that like can scale with you as you grow and like can keep your customer satisfaction, your service up high. And so I figured that out. I was doing MIS, I was learning some coding, and I figured out how to connect our website to that UPS system. And it would automatically print out the orders. We had a barcode I managed to find to put on there that you could scan, and it would automatically go in, no mistakes, and just print the labels out. And I'm telling you, it cut our time down from like hours to like 1 hour. We're like, this is awesome, So anyway, I just wanted to, as you're building it, a business is kind of like a machine, and you want to take time as an entrepreneur to step away and look at different areas of it and make sure they're working well, right? Like think of it as different gears turning. And if you don't stand back and look at how the whole machine works, it can get out of hand as you grow. It really can. And you're not going to really be the type of company or promote the image that you want to promote. So. All right, so 2 years later, 2006, let me make sure I'm good on time here. We moved to our first warehouse. So 2 years later, that's important to keep in mind because we were busting out the basement. Michael and I quit our jobs. We were making money from this thing, like we were profitable. All the homework we did early on of that planning, of figuring out the margins, like was right. Like we were making money and so we started to grow and we moved to our first warehouse. So this is what it looked like. We, again, didn't have a ton of money to put into all this infrastructure, so we built this packing station from wood, you can see here, and that was a blast. And I think during this time, too, we hired our first warehouse guy. That was our first employee. And I get this question a lot, so I'm going to answer it now. When do you hire your first employee, and what are they supposed to do? So one thing that my brother and I would do, and we did this frequently as we grew, is we'd put everything we were doing on a whiteboard, and we go like this. Okay, we can hire somebody to do that, right? And then they would take that away. And now, but also if they're doing this, that means you and I can do this more. So I can put more time in marketing, more time in all this, because I'm not boxing orders. And so that's what we did. So we hired our first warehouse guy. This is my mom back there. You can see we're getting more orders now. She's helping still. We love our mom. We did fire her like 4 times, and she kept coming back. And finally, we had to pay her to stay home because she wanted to be a grandma. But I love her to death. It was hard, though, working with your mom because we'd be at the office, and when we had about like 15 employees, she would yell down the hallway and be like, Michael, Phillip, come here. And it's like, Mom, we're not at the house. There's like employees here, and you can't do that. So it was fun. But so this is our second space. So 2008, 2 years later, we continue to grow. And when I remember, I want to show you this picture because this is a huge warehouse. I think it was 12,000 square feet. And all of our stuff from the old warehouse fit in the corner. And I was just like, my brother and I, we signed the lease for this, and we're sitting here thinking, this is the stupidest thing we've ever done. Like, all of our stuff fits in one corner. We're never going to fill the space. But again, reach out to those people who are smarter than you. We found a consultant who worked in e-commerce, and we reached out to him in logistics. We said, hey, we need to get a new space. We don't know what size to get. And so they said, give me your numbers. And they took our sales, they took our orders, our growth, everything they looked at, and they said, okay, this is how much space you're utilizing now. If you keep growing like this is what's going to happen. It's going to fill, you need 10,000 square feet. And we're like, no, we don't. He's like, yes, you do. And we're like, no, we don't. Okay, fine, we'll do it. And so we did. And sure enough, let me go. Oh, actually, I'll talk about this space moment. So here's 2009. So hired our first developer, our first warehouse manager, our first customer service manager right here, and a couple of phone staff. And that was it. Again, trying to figure out, okay, what's all the work that my brother and I are doing, and how could somebody do it better than us and help us focus on other things? And the neat thing about this picture that I love is a lot of these people are still working with us today. And that's pretty cool. So, one of the things that my brother and I have really tried to do is invest in our employees and really make this a great place to work. And I'm really proud of the fact that they still work with us today. So this lady over here runs our entire customer service team. And when you hire your first couple employees, they're wearing a lot of hats. And so the only thing I'd suggest is finding the absolute best employees you can. Just find the best people. Preferably somebody who can do a lot of a lot of things because that's what they're going to do. So. All right, so this is that small warehouse. We got some shelving put in. It started to fill up. We started to grow. That's my brother there on the forklift, moving stuff around, and it's starting to get a little crowded, so we're growing. Really excited about this. And again, it seems crazy probably, but guys, I could never have fathomed this. Like, we didn't really ever imagine this. When we started, we're just, hey, let's put up a site and see if we can get 10 orders. That would be cool. And it just, okay, we got 10, let's get 20, and it just kind of grows. I don't look happy in this picture, so I don't like showing this. But again, we're kind of hitting one of those moments where, okay, all that automation that I told you we put in place early on is getting to the point where it can't scale anymore. And we need something better because now I have like 200 to 300 orders here and we're still sitting there doing them by hand. It's being kind of semi-automated, but not fully automated. And this is what our warehouse is looking like. So tables everywhere, people running around everywhere. It's just crazy. And my brother and I sit back and make sure you take time to step back from your business and look at it. And we decided we got to move again. Like, it's 2 years. I don't know what this is. We got to move. And this time we were smart. We talked to some people smarter than us again. And an accountant told us, you guys need to buy your own space, your own building. So it's 2012. This is our company now, continuing to grow. And this is our first building that we actually owned. And again, if I click through here, you'll see it's completely empty. So again, it's all about the numbers, right? But it does kind of freak you out because we bought this huge building and we're thinking, are we going to fill this thing? And all of our previous agents fit in these offices right here. So they were the ones answering the phones. We had individual offices, but we had all this open space just sitting there. We would run around at night and like play Nerf gun wars in here and like dive behind stuff. And now we can't do that because all this is filled with customer service, cubicles and everything. So that was a lot of fun. So here's the warehouse. So this automated line right here, again, talk to the people who you're working with, talk to UPS, talk to the Postal Service. Guys, they know so much. I mean, this isn't anything new to them. They're helping hundreds of companies do this every day for the first time, and that's what we did. So we went to UPS and we said, hey, we implemented some things back then. They're not scaling with us. We need something better. And they said, oh, yeah, well, we obviously want you to grow. We want more of your business. We'll take you to some other warehouses. So we did. So my brother and I took a couple trips to some other companies in Atlanta that were in different industries that didn't care and showed us through their warehouse. And we said, oh, we want that. Like, that's awesome. And so we got a company to build these conveyors. We did them used, so we didn't pay for them new. You can do them on the cheap, so to speak. They're still pretty pricey, but a lot cheaper than we could have. And we built this conveyor system. And so the way it works now is you'll box the order and you just place it on the line with a little barcode, and it goes all the way down the conveyor, weighs it, scans it, gets the dimensions, figures out the best way to ship it, diverts it on the USPS truck, UPS truck. We're in business. So like, this is awesome. We can scale this. Thousands of orders. So that's just another view. One of our other warehouse managers there. So we always got to have fun. So we finally had room for a little game room, our little like Google room. We had some weights, we had a pool table, and we tried to make it fun. So I had a good time with that. This is our break room that is completely packed now, but and I got to show you the most important thing that we ever invested in the history of our company. We got off Craigslist. This is a secret insider tip for you guys. Is a frozen yogurt machine. So if you really want to improve employee morale, go out and find a cheap frozen yogurt machine and just have your warehouse employees make up frozen yogurt. You'd be surprised. People love it. So, okay. So a couple of things that I've learned here. So rework your business plan yearly if needed. We didn't have a business plan starting out. We kind of did though. We had this idea in our head of what we wanted to be, but guys, business moves so fast right now. It really does. And so every year, you should be looking at your business plan and what you're doing, what you're building, and analyze it and say, where am I going? Do I need to change direction? Do I need to add something? And we just had this habit of doing that every year in the winter. The winter was our downtime, so we're very seasonal. So we'd be super busy in the summer, and when we'd get down the winter, it was planning time. What are we going to do for next year? Come up with 3 to 5 major new features that will fuel continued growth. That's another huge thing I learned, and it's been a huge blessing to us, is again in that planning period each year is pick what are the 2 or 3 things that are going to drive us further. Is it optimizing more of our business like the warehouse? Is it coming up with these new subscription boxes? What's new that will drive the business forward? Is it adding new products? That was a huge thing for years, is just adding more SKUs. People would come to us for pest control. They wanted other things. They're out in their yard. They want to do lawn. And so we started adding all that. Always picking new things to help us grow. So focus on becoming the very best at something and don't get too sidetracked. I throw this in there because this is something I've learned as an entrepreneur, but I see it a lot. So it's a huge temptation when you love being creative and starting companies or want to start a company of like chasing one idea and then hearing about another idea and then wanting to chase that too and then wanting to chase that. So I had a friend who started like 4 different companies, and then he'd come back to me and say, hey, I have this other idea. Like, I think this is going to be the one. And going back, I'm like, your first one could have been the one if you just like put some more time and effort into it and keep building it. And I feel like that's what we did is we just really kept pushing this thing as hard as we could and didn't get sidetracked on it. So again, I already shared that note, automate. Seek to become as efficient as possible earlier rather than later. This is so true. I'm just telling you, as you grow, no matter what size it is, it just gets harder. Now you're dealing with employees. Now you're dealing with a building. Now you're dealing with returns, with all these other things. If you can build that automation or the systems up front of how you're going to do things, how you're going to answer the phones, how you're going to, like if you have systems in place, it's so much easier to grow. Last point on this slide is hire the very best people you can. As I can't stress this enough, is you're going to start developing from your personality, from the people that work with you, your company's going to start developing a culture. And you want to find people that fit that culture, that are smart and can help build your company. And I will tell you, a lot of our growth is not because of me and my brother. It's because of some amazing people we found who, and I put Good to Great, that's a book, if you guys may have heard of it, Good to Great. One thing that he mentions, I think it's Tim Collins is the author, he says, if you put smart people on the boat, they will drive it, or on the bus, they'll drive it where it needs to go. And when we got our first warehouse manager, like my brother and I thought we knew how to manage a warehouse, then we brought this guy in, and he's like, oh no, this is how you manage a warehouse. And it was just amazing what he did. And we could have never fathomed that. But you get the right people in your company, they will know what to do. They're gonna drive the bus, So know who you are and your reason for being. A lot of times in the excitement of building a company, starting out with a new idea, we forget about why are we doing it and what's the purpose. And this is very important. You know, we didn't do this till years later where we finally caught our like vision statement on paper, but it was, we want to make homeowners and people who do their own pest control lawn care, we want to help do-it-yourselfers have an amazing experience. Okay, so not make it difficult, not make it hard, but make good experiences for people. That's really why we're here. And find out what that vision and mission is and help that drive you. I talked about company culture. Here's another tip too, is constantly be learning. This is critical if you're going to be an entrepreneur, and I would suggest that if you guys are getting into I know we had a bunch of hands, right, of those who are starting businesses or have ideas. Here's a tip. Find the trade show that relates to your business. For us, we had this huge e-commerce trade show that started about 2 years after we started our business. It was like the first one. And we started going to that trade show from the first year it started, and we've gone every year since. We've never missed. And I count that as like one of the keys to our growth, because everyone else who didn't go to those shows and get all the new information and all the inside ideas and all the how that industry was growing, like we were right there in the thick of it. And all our competitors that didn't do those kind of things were just behind. And so there's a show like that for every type of industry. Find what it is and go to them and learn everything you can. And then the last one is customer happiness should drive everything. It's so true. We live in a digital age where if you have a bad experience, you can tell somebody immediately, right? And you want to have a great experience. No matter what you do, make people happy. It's a worthy cause. Make your employees happy, your customers happy, and that's also a great source of innovation and ideas. Think through your customers' experience, their day. Whatever service you're providing, no matter what you're doing, take time to step away from your idea or your business and say, just learn to look at their day-to-day and say, what is frustrating them? Like, what is hard for them? What could I improve for them that can make their lives better? And you'd be surprised the ideas that you come up with. Kind of talked about that, build a strong foundation, don't grow too fast. Just the last one here is know your data. So another one that we've really jumped into now is just how the numbers helped us. I told you how, we talked to somebody who knew about warehousing and how to pick the right size warehouse. It was all about data. And so early on, no matter what business you're in, whether it's in a spreadsheet, some program you find online for free, keep track of what's going on, and that'll come back and help you later on. So final note here I wanted to share is, there was another thing that my brother and I did that I'm proud of that we started early was we gave. The very first year, that we were in business, we started giving to different foundations around Atlanta. And there were small amounts because we didn't have much, but our parents always taught us to do that. And there was a cancer drive in Atlanta that would be on the radio every year, and people would donate to it. And when it came on the radio, we'd had a good year, and we kind of gave a little bit to it. It's funny how that comes back around because my brother and business partner lost a son to childhood cancer who was treated in that same hospital that we'd been given to for years, which kind of just gives me the chills to think about. But I'm proud of the fact that we've made giving a part of our company from the very beginning. It wasn't something we waited for. We just always decided that's what we're going to do. And so since then, we've given to a lot of foundations, back to schools and things like that. And that's something that's really important to us. So that's it. That's the story of Do My Own. And I just wanted to encourage you guys to jump into your ideas and don't be afraid. Because I remember what it was like sitting there in a class and wondering, is this even possible to do that? But it happened step by step and we figured it out. I know you guys can do the same and do it. At some point you got to jump in. Don't let I don't have enough experience. Don't let fear or anything keep you from doing or becoming, what you want to be or what you want to do. And I'll leave on one note. I wish I had a slide for this, but there's a book I read recently called Principles by Ray Dalio. Some of you guys may have heard of that. It's a bestseller now. But he was a very successful hedge fund manager. And in this book, he wrote basically that. He said, I found out in my life that the more I tried difficult things, even if I failed, the faster I learned. And so he drew this kind of curve like this, right? So you set an audacious goal, try it, throw yourself into it. At some point you have to. You might fail, but then you come out the other end and you've learned more. You're more experienced. Now you set a higher goal. And he's like, okay, I can see how I can get more successful and learn more and really become a better entrepreneur by doing that. And he figured that, okay, the faster I do this, the more I'm willing to throw myself into things, the better I'm going to learn. So I encourage you guys to do that. And good luck in all that you do. And so questions? Yes?
You use Amazon Prime now too as well, or Amazon at all for?
Yeah, we do sell a little bit on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a small part of our business. One thing to know about Amazon is if you decide to jump in on Amazon, make sure that that's it. We've decided that we're going to put more of our focus into our own site and company, that Amazon might be a part, but just understand what that's going to be. You're either going to jump all in or make it a part, because a lot of times people will give up their site and other things, and it's hard to, I don't know if that makes sense, to really put your efforts into both. So, but yeah, we do. Any other questions? Yeah.
So you're putting a lot of emphasis on giving back at the end.
Yeah.
like how much do you give back per year? Did that change over the course of the company, or like is it a percentage?
Yeah, I mean, we've never had a hard and fast rule on it. It's just always been something we do every year. So when we're looking at how the year went, it's definitely something that's grown as we've grown, and we've gotten our employees involved with it, but probably should set that to some percentage at some point to really encourage it as we continue. But yeah, we've always continued to grow that. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So for the residential customers who are interested in doing their own yards or pest controls, do you have any type of training, or how, if I'm just starting out as a customer, how would I figure out which products I want?
Yeah, so that's a huge part of what we do, is we have a whole team dedicated to creating content to help people do their own pest control and lawn care. So we have a video team, we have videos on YouTube on our site that will teach you how to do it. We have articles, we have guides to walk you through everything. And that's really how we grew, is because this is typically something that's not as easy to understand. Like you go to Home Depot and there may be 100 products there and you're not sure which one to pick. And then you have to figure out how to apply it and if it's gonna hurt your grass or not. So we do all of that on the site, yeah. So, anyone else?
What's the name of that convention that you go to?
So so there's a couple for internet. Internet retail is the biggest one. For online retail, if you guys are interested in that. There's a couple, I think shop.org is one, Shop Talk, now they have a bunch. But every industry should have a big show that they usually do. Find out what that is, no matter what you're going into. And then depending on the product you sell, like pest control, they have a pest control show. So we go to all that stuff, so. Yes?
Do you want to talk about how you expanded beyond pest control to the other areas and what your thinking was?
Yeah, so really the way it started was our customers were asking for it. So we had pretty much we started to sell everything in the pest control realm. Now granted, we're not selling stuff that you find at Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart. These are more of a higher grade, professional, we don't have any problem, they're not hazmat or anything, they're not hazardous, but they're just better engineered, they last longer, and a lot of the ones that pest control companies are using, that's what we're selling. So anyways, as homeowners used them, they just said, hey, why don't you carry lawn care? Why don't you carry, equipment? I want to have a better backpack sprayer. And so really that's when we finally said, we need to put a person over this to just build product. So yeah, it was really just customer feedback. So, yes?
Do you, as a company, now produce your own products, or do you still go to other, vendors to stock your warehouse?
Yeah, we don't, although that's definitely something on the roadmap. It's, being in the chemical business, it's a little more difficult to just go out and white label or produce your own because you have to get registrations in every state, and it costs a lot of money and there's liability. So that may be down the road, but not yet. Yeah, that's a great question though. So, what else? Yes?
Could you talk about one experience where you guys failed and how you overcame that?
That's a really good question. There've definitely been those occasions. I'll say one thing that comes to mind is hiring. I want to say we made every decision perfectly. Obviously we didn't, right? And we had to learn as we went. And a couple of times there are a few hires that we made that probably weren't the best fit culturally, and we knew that. And there is a point where you realize that, hey, these people aren't the best fit for us, but also they probably are better off somewhere else. And oftentimes when we'd finally say, you know what, this isn't working out, they would go off and find something better. We would find a better person that fit that role. So that's really a hard decision to make sometimes, but I wouldn't say we're always perfect in doing that. So, yeah.